Hello and good morning. Here I am with my Dunkin' Donuts coffee again this morning, nice and early. It is Tuesday, November 23rd, and I'm Kenny Polcari, your host of the party. Everything you need to know about what's going on, what happened yesterday, what's happening today. We're in this holiday shortened week. What's going on? So let's just talk about it, right? Yesterday, it's finally clarity is restored, right? Joe Biden announces that he is reappointing Jay Powell, and Lael Brainerd gets actually elevated to vice chair. Joey's also set to announce the release of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserves today, but is that really going to solve the problem? Treasury rates rise. Investors are now betting on an interest rate rise that may come sooner than expected. Lots of eco data today and tomorrow, but who's going to be around to respond to it? Anyway, what do we have for dinner? Today I'm giving you the fried turkey, but we'll get to that at the end. Look, Joey renominates Jay Powell for a second term. He elevates Lael Brainerd to vice chair, eliminating any uncertainty that has permeated the markets, and investors loved it. And while the odds for a Powell reappointment were about 55-45 in his favor, it wasn't clear until it was. So when the announcement came, there was a sense of relief and clarity, which caused the algos to go all in. Stocks soared on the news, with the Dow rallying better than 300 points at one point during the day, and then it was over. Stocks began to retreat as we approached the 4 o'clock bell. The Dow giving it all back, ending the day flat. The S&P down 11, the NASDAQ down 202, and that makes sense. The Russell ended the day down 11, while the transports ended solidly higher, adding 221 points to the count. Yields on the 10-year Treasury rose to end the day at 1.627% as the prospect that Jay Powell is going to change his tune now that he has been renominated, and he's going to have to raise rates sooner than expected to combat this surging inflation, saying himself that the central bank would use tools at its disposal to support the economy as well as to prevent inflation from becoming entrenched. Read higher rates. And that means that we should expect higher rates versus maintaining zero rates. So there's going to have to be a repricing, this repricing that we've been talking about for months now, right? Stocks will just reprice. As rates go up, it's just a math problem. The sense is that the tapering is on schedule to be completed by June, as of today, and rates are going to follow soon after. Fed funds are now pricing in an 85% chance of a move in July. I still think the tapering gets adjusted sooner and rates will rise before July, but let's see. In any event, high growth names, think NASDAQ, are going to have to reprice now that there's some more clarity at the Fed, and investors are going to have to assume that zero rates are over. What you should also know is that yesterday we had 700 stocks making new lows between the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ names, while only 330 made new highs. So there's 2 times as many stocks going lower, meaning that maybe the repricing is already underway. And we saw that yesterday with NASDAQ, right? Kind of slammed, getting slammed again this morning. The dollar rallied strongly. It's now kissing 96.15, up 3.5% since the end of October, after breaking out what was resistance at 94.50. Remember that as it was doing that, I said that if it should break out, then watch for it to run into resistance not until 98. And it feels like 98 is coming sooner rather than later. The idea that the U.S. tapering is on track and that rates are set to rise soon is a positive for the U.S. dollar. And that is what the action is telling you. Oil, which is down 10% over the past week or so, although gas isn't down, but oil is, did find some support, even considering the stronger dollar. It's broken short-term support at 77.72. It could test intermediate support at 72.70. Thoughts of Joey releasing oil from the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, along with a coordinated effort by some Asian nations, is also putting pressure on oil prices, right? Because they increase supply. And now new COVID lockdowns in Austria and Germany are causing renewed concerns about what could happen to demand and what other countries might have to do to follow suit. So just keep your eyes on oil as new cases spike. I think it's baloney, but they're going to use that as part of the narrative. This morning, the headlines are suggesting that Joey's preparing to announce the release of oil from the SPR in concert with several other countries today. Understand that this does not solve the problem. It's a temporary Band-Aid on a much bigger issue. In fact, guess how OPEC might respond to this news? Headlines also this morning are suggesting that OPEC Plus may reevaluate the current plan to increase production when they meet next week. And in fact, they could cut production in response to the release if the U.S. and others begin releasing oil from their strategic SPRs. This as the Saudis and the Russians fight to maintain control over the world oil markets. So here's a thought. Why doesn't the administration consider encouraging an increase in U.S. production versus forcing a decrease via energy policy? Recall, the U.S. was the swing producer under the prior administration. We were the nation driving the price of global oil. We were a net exporter of oil. Imagine that. And today, the Bidens have left us to become once again dependent on the Mideast. I mean, I'm just saying, think about it. Ecodata yesterday revealed existing home sales came in better than expected, right? They came in up 0.8% versus the expected loss of 1.4%, while the Chicago Fed survey was also much stronger than suggested. Data today is all about the Purchasing Managers Index. Manufacturing PMI of 59.1, services PMI of 59, both well in expansionary mode. So there's nothing to worry about unless suddenly they show some weakness, which is not expected at all. Sector performance yesterday had tech, right? The XLK down 1.1%. Communications, XLC down 1.2%. Healthcare, XLV down 0.5%. Energy, XLE was up 1.7%. Financials up 1.4%. Utilities up 0.6%. And retail, the XRT continues to outperform, adding up 1.5% on the day, bringing its year-to-date performance to up 60%. The growth trade, while it was off 0.8, is still up 30% in the year, and the value trade added 0.3%, and that is up 19% on the year. U.S. futures this morning are mixed. Investors, traders, and algos are now pruning their bets about how much longer Jay will remain a dove. At 6 a.m., Dow futures are up 10, S&Ps are down 3, Nasdaq's down another 50, the Russell's off 6 points. We're going to begin to see lower volumes as we move closer to Thanksgiving, although tomorrow's going to bring us a slew of economic data. Mortgage apps, wholesale inventories, retail inventories, GDP revision, durable goods, personal income, personal spending, new home sales, and the FOMC minutes from the November 3rd meeting. But who's going to really be around to pay much attention, right? In Europe, markets across the region are also down this morning between 0.5% and 1.2%, while business activity jumped. COVID-19 infections did as well, and rising inflationary pressures are putting a damper on investor activity. Yesterday, Germany's health minister had this to say about rising COVID cases. Probably by the end of winter, pretty much everyone in Germany will be vaccinated, recovered, or dead. That's just the reality. And this is causing them to reconsider a new round of stricter measures and lockdowns across the country, and that is casting a pall over the whole region. Because then what's that mean for France and Spain and Italy and Portugal and the rest of them? This morning, Bitcoin is trading a little bit lower again this morning, trading at 56,100. Ethereum's off just a small bit at 41.25. The S&P closed yesterday at 46.82, but it saw a surge during the day as high as 47.43 before giving it all back and then some. We remain in that 46.30, 47.30 trading range, but I suspect the repricing is going to pick up speed in the new year. They will do all they can this year and the next 5 weeks to protect the markets through year end so they avoid a repeat of 2018 when we saw the markets lose 16% in the final 4 weeks of the year. Remember, you can always text the word investor 21,000 to get my digital business card on your cell phone, right? Feel free to download it, send me off an email or a text. I'm always happy to engage. I'm happy to talk about markets, planning, thoughts, concerns, ideas, whatever's on your mind. You know, you can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Kenny Polcari and on Instagram at KennyP1961. Okay, so it is Thanksgiving. I've been holding this one till the end, right? It's the deep fried turkey. It's a great way to prepare it. But you have to be really careful because you've seen the horror stories, right? You hear the horror stories about people deep frying frozen turkeys. Big mistake, right? Because it makes a big mess and it causes a big problem. So you need to be very careful when you're doing this. And you have to make sure, don't be crazy. You need an adult present at all times. For this, you need an unfrozen turkey, washed and clean, void of the pop-up timers, as well as the bag from the breast cage. You need peanut oil, a deep fryer, which you can buy at Home Depot, poultry seasoning, or you can make your own, or you can use like Italian salad dressing seasoning, put it in the syringe. I'll tell you that in a minute. After you've washed and cleaned the turkey, let it air dry, or you can use a paper towel to dry it, as it must be dry. Not a good idea to put a wet turkey into the hot oil. Not a good idea. Now, you want to season the turkey using you can season the turkey with the dry rub on the outside. You can use a syringe to shoot seasoning up under the skin and the breasts and the legs. Place the turkey then on the lifter that comes with it and let it rest, right, until you're ready. The turkey should be at room temperature when you go to cook them. Now, to determine the amount of oil you're going to need, you have to do this by placing the turkey in the pot, add water until the turkey is completely covered, plus an inch or two. With the turkey in the water, there should still be several inches of room between the oil and the top of the pot. Don't bring it right to the top, right? If it's a close call, you either need a bigger pot or a smaller turkey. Anyway, now remove the turkey and measure the amount of water. This is the amount of oil you're going to need. Simple. It's not very difficult. Then you're going to set up the fryer outside, away from the house, not on the deck. You want to do it on the driveway or even on the lawn, right? Away from the house and away from the kids. Dry the pot, add the appropriate amount of oil, and bring it to a temperature of 375 degrees. Now, you really should get a good thermometer so you can get the temperature right, because it's very important. When you're ready, turn off the burner. When you put the turkey, to avoid a flare-up, right? If the oil comes bubbling over the side, you don't have to flare up. You're going to relight the burner once you put the turkey in the pot. Lower the turkey all the way into the hot oil. The oil is going to splatter a little bit, but do it very slow. Make sure you have on heavy cooking gloves, right? Once the turkey's in the oil, then you're going to turn the burner back on, get the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. A deep-fried turkey cooks at the rate of about 3 to 3.5 minutes per pound. So a 10-pound turkey is going to take you anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. A 20-pound turkey is going to take you 60 to 70 minutes. Turn off the heat when it's done. Slowly remove the turkey from the oil. Let it drain back into the pot a little bit. All right, once it's kind of all drained, then you're set to go. Take it in the house, carve it, and enjoy. You're going to be amazed at how not greasy or oily it is. It's just crisp and juicy. It's got a definitely different flavor than the ones you do in the oven. It is equally as good, and maybe you do two. Maybe you do two small turkeys, one in the oven, one you deep fry it. You try it. Depends on how many people you have them for Thanksgiving dinner, right? This year we're having 8 people for dinner, and we're going to start with the all the things I told you, right? The antipasto, and then we're going to have the raviolis, and then we're going to have the turkey and all the sides, and then we're going to have dessert, and then we're going to have some limoncello at the end, because the limoncello, the recipe I gave you a couple of weeks ago, will be used as a digestive after the fact. So in any event, the weather here in South Florida is supposed to be beautiful, so we're going to have Thanksgiving out on the deck overlooking the water. So I hope yours is as beautiful as well. And until then, take good care.